Well, hello. It's Friday where you buy stuff, and I'm here, and the chat is here. Probably. There's probably not a whole bunch of people because I didn't tell you guys about it because I didn't know I was going to do this. So here we are. Have happy Friday. I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. We're going to take a look at some of your emails. There's not a whole lot, so please use the chat as much as possible because I'll answer it there. Also, we are simulcasting on Facebook. So sometimes you may not see the comment from the Facebook folks, and the Facebook folks might not see the comment from everybody else. But hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. To start, though, before we do that, let's talk about the Folds of Honor Fight for Honor 2020. We've only raised $659 so far. I think that's I don't think it's see I don't understand why it's an odd number. It should be 660. So there's either 66 people or 65 people. But please sign up if you haven't already. It is for a worthy cause. It does support Folds of Honor. We've done really well with it in the past. It's only $10 to show your support. You can also donate if you don't want to do that as well. But also, I'm kind of going to throw down the gauntlet here. Somebody else needs to win this year. Nothing against Sung Ho. I love Sung Ho. He's awesome. He's great at what he does, but we need a new champion. He has been the undefeated reigning champion for the last couple of years, and it's time for somebody new. So encourage your friends if you suck, or if you're really good, go out and win. And that's all I'll say about that. And, especially some of these other YouTube channels, encourage them to join. It's for a worthy cause. They can stream it. They can join us. We're doing things a little different this year. You can see where my little mouse guy there. You can see that the opening day is the 4th and 5th. The closing rounds are 11th and 12th. We're actually live streaming after. So it's not quite live. We're not going to watch them in real time, but we're going to watch the events live on my channel with the fighter pilot panel, and we're going to talk about what they did wrong, what they did right, talk trash, have fun. And those will be charity streams to raise money for Folds of Honor. So and last year that we did really well. I mean, I think we were something like $6 to $9 grand just on the streams alone. So really good awesome event that we can all take part in. And remember, it's the end of the year. So if you're trying to get those tax deductions in, now is the time to make those charitable donations. So that's enough on that. Let us take a look. Let me see if I can remember how to do this. There we go. So let's take a look at some of your emails and questions since the last time. And, sorry, I don't know if what the streaming schedule is going to be like, if we're going to do this regularly or what, but it is, I think, a little bit better. So this first one comes from Mike. Mike, the subject was recent UPT fatalities, which, as you know, we lost another pilot on last Friday, or was it a week ago Friday? Might have been, it was a week ago today, actually. So 1 week ago, T-38 mishap. Very tragic. Lost a student pilot in a T-38C. So it's definitely, it sucks. It's one of those things. I hate having to read about it in the news. I hate when the AIBs come out and reading about kind of what went wrong and stuff like that. But we do learn from these. Anyway, Mike says, huge fan of the channel. Found you a few years ago when my son was thinking about an Air Force career. Now he's a subscriber as well, and God willing, we'll be soloing the T6 this week advance. So hopefully he's already soloed, because that was 5 days ago. My heart broke again this morning when I read about the mishap at Laughlin last night, where a student pilot was killed and others injured. Following the T-38 mishap at Alabama last month, different aircraft, but also a student pilot. This has the alarm bell sounding in my head. We all understand the inherent risk, but is this indicative of a potentially larger issue? When I spoke with my son a few weeks ago, when he had his dollar ride is your first ride in the aircraft. You give your instructor $1. He mentioned his IP had completed UPT just a couple years earlier. This sounded a bit counterintuitive to me. Relatively inexperienced pilots as flight instructors. Appreciate any thoughts you have on the matter. Thank you for your service, inspiring the next generation of aviators. This was a common question in the mishap video from Alabama, the Montgomery one, because it was a first assignment instructor pilot. That is very common, and that is not a bad thing. It's not unusual. Typically what happens when the drop night comes out, or the drop comes out, in the fighter. So for T-38s, it's fighter guys, and for T-1s, it's heavy guys, right? So for the T-38 side, you'll have your rack and stack, and usually, number one gets whatever they want on their dream sheet. F-22, F-16, A-10, whatever. And it depends on needs of the Air Force as to what happens after that. If there are a bunch of fighters, then you may not see a first assignment IP until like 3 or 4. If there are not a bunch of fighters, you can see it as high as number 2. So what a FAPE does is, one, it gives them more experience because as an instructor, so they're not sending weak swimmers. They're not sending somebody that struggled through the program, that probably is going to go to a bomber out of the T-38 track because they just didn't do well. It's usually somebody kind of mid to upper pack that's doing well. They think is going to be able to teach, has the aptitude to do that, and it buys them another assignment cycle until they go to the next for getting an actual fighter. So it's a 3-year tour. They go fly, they gain a whole bunch of experience, a whole bunch of hours, and then they go off and teach. Now, as for the quality of instruction, when I was in, it's mostly FAPEs because you don't have a lot of experienced fighter guys that want to go do white jets. I mean, sometimes people do it for family reasons, but typically people want to stay in fighter cockpits for their whole career if they could. So, I think that's just part of it. The FAPEs fly more, so they're more current. They're doing this more. They don't necessarily have the experience bucket that somebody who's been doing this for a while has, but they certainly have more recency, and they're usually very good instructors. The guys at Pitt, which is the instructor course down at Randolph, won't let them through if they don't think they're going to be safe. So I don't think that's causal. Questions I would have, though, in general, would be, um, whether or how they're implementing UPT 2.5 and virtual reality. It's not that I'm saying it's bad. I just don't know enough about it. My personal belief is that there's no replacement for seat time in an actual jet. No amount of VR. We've talked about this with DCS and Microsoft Flight Sim and stuff like that. Fun games, not anywhere close to the real thing. They can teach you procedures. They can teach you switchology. They can teach you how to work the avionics. They can make it easier in the jet, but nothing replaces putting the gear on, going out to the jet, being a part of the actual flight in the air. I mean, that to me is the most important thing. And just in general, as a service, we're not flying as much as we used to. I remember I've talked about this before, but I went to a course back in 2009. And, you get the intel briefs and stuff, and you're talking about how many hours other countries fly. And I remember, the class was kind of making fun of the idea that other countries were flying, 69, 80 hours a year. And, I, as a lieutenant back then, was flying about 200, 250 hours a year, and that was about normal. So we were making fun of that. Now, dudes are lucky if they get 100 hours a year. I mean, 100 to 150 is considered high time. So we're not flying as much as we used to. And I think that contributes across the board to maybe more dangerous situations, less experience, et cetera. There's on the maintenance side, I did get an email from a guy who works with T-38 maintenance. And, don't get me wrong for what we talked about in that mishap video. I respect M1. I think those guys do an awesome job putting those aircraft up every day, keeping us safe, keeping me safe because they work on the aircraft that I fly. But at the end of the day, the T-38 is a 60-year-old airplane. Even the T-38C, all they did was change intakes for the PMP mods, change out the seats and change out the avionics. But it's still that same 60-year-old airplane that was designed for Century Series fighters. It was designed to teach a guy how to fly the F-100. It was not designed to teach a guy how to fly an F-22 or an F-16. Aircraft were a lot different back then. There was a lot more to, flying those aircraft than there are for like an F-16 or whatever. Does it make you a better pilot? Yes. Is it more dangerous? Also, yes. I mean, it's not a very forgiving fighter at all, and it doesn't simulate anything we have because things have changed. So I think it's kind of past time for us to move on to a new trainer, but with the acquisitions process as it is, it takes time. So long-winded answer to a short question. Let's go back to the chat here. Make sure I'm still not rambling here. Let's see. We'll intermix some of these. Gun Guy says, "Hey Mover, do you think you can do a video on your ownership experiences with previous Corvettes? I own an 85. Would like to hear your opinions on owning several different Corvettes." Yeah, I can do that. That's a good idea. I have owned like what 7 or 8 Corvettes. I've owned every generation since I've been alive. So C4, C5, C6, C7. Have not owned the C8 yet. Hoping to own a C8 Z06, but I got to tell you, I'm not that optimistic with my chances. The dealers now, I'm a little disappointed because what my plan was on the car front, since we're talking about this, I am probably going to, I'm not going to say probably, I'm going to track the 01. However, I still would like to get a dedicated track car that would be kind of fun to take to other places because yes, I'm going to track the 01 maybe once a year or whatever, but it's not a car you're going to track forever. I mean, the carbon ceramic brakes, just the consumables on that car, plus the risk is high and the cost to insure it. I wanted to get like a Z01 1LE, and I went to a couple dealers to order it, and dealers that I had trusted, dealers that were, typically fair, and they're all fallen victim or fallen prey to the MSRP plus because supply is low. Even ordering from the factory, which is why I think we don't need dealers anymore. I should just be able to go to GM and say, "Hey, here's what I want. Send it to me," because I don't need the salesman. Like he serves no purpose other than to take my order and then is going to mark it up on top of that. So I'm a little disappointed. And I think that's what's going to happen with the Z06 if you can even get an allocation at all. I'm on the list. I'm like number 3 here locally, but who knows when they're going to do that. So I think it's going to be tough, but I'd like to get a Z06 and have that C8, but who knows? Honestly, I don't know. Anyway, make the dealer tell you no. Yeah, it's not that they will tell you no; it's that they'll tell you yes, but here's your $10,000 to $20,000 markup. And dude, I'm not paying MSRP period on a Camaro, like just out of principle. Corvette, I'll pay MSRP maybe, but never will I pay a markup for any car. Like that's stupid. That's I get it. Market factors, they're free to do what they want, but I'm also free to walk away because that's just not going to happen. Okay, let's see here. Matthew says, "Hey Mover, love the channel and the content. I've added the make them tell you no mindset to my ethos and has changed my outlook on things. Pilots and drivers have a number of vices, but one seems to pop up in both universes: watches. Are you a watch guy? No. If so, what are your favorite? And would you consider doing a show and tell your collection? Maybe highlight some of the features on the pilot's watch that are useful and how they work." So, Matt, I'm currently wearing this. Hold on, let me see if I can see what I'm doing. This Garmin that the squadron gave me. Before that, I wore a Casio G-Shock, which fighter pilots are very superstitious. I have never flown without that watch as a military aviator, so I still carry it in my pocket. I don't even know if it works anymore, but I'm just not a watch guy, man. I like the G-Shock because I can my phone, I can do the phone thing and have my text messages and stuff come up. I also like the fact that I could track workouts and how far I run, but I'm just not a watch guy. And it lasts longer than the Apple Watch. That's the only reason I haven't used like an Apple Watch for that. Because from what I understand, you have to charge an Apple Watch like daily. I only have to charge this once a week, and I even think that's too much. All right, back to the kids at home. Let's see. It's midnight. Well, appreciate you sticking around there, Hyder. Thanks for subscribing, Steven. Go undercover on an alt account. Yeah, the Folds of Honor thing, I thought about that. I thought it'd be funny, but I'd probably still lose. I mean, dude, DCS guys are totally different world. They fight their DCS game plan. That's great. It's not the same as real life. It doesn't necessarily translate, but it would be interesting to see. Mover, I have a question. BMS. What is BMS? Different models have different color schemes in MFD. Is this something you can choose, or is it model specific? It's the color. You're talking about the MFDs. That's just based on what block you're flying and what software suite it has. You can't configure that at all. Mover, have you seen Spain is going to buy the F-35? I have not, but that sounds cool. Ooh, this is anything you wish you knew before joining the Air Force or something you didn't expect. I could do a whole video on the things that I screwed up. Um, and I'm not going to get into too much detail there, but I think the biggest lessons learned I had were, one, check your ego. Uh, you know, uh, be a sponge. Just be ready to learn. Realize this is not your culture and you are learning a new culture. So you have to be a sponge. You have to be humble. You have to be able to take criticism. You have to be able to own up to your mistakes. Um, I think those are things, I mean, I, I screwed up a lot of stuff, and one day we'll sit down and I'll go through all the stuff that maybe didn't go as planned because there was a different trajectory for my career than where I'm at now. But um, I think really it boils down to just attitude and just being that person that is always asking questions and accepting the criticisms or whatever. So let's see. David says, "What's one fighter jet you'd love to fly in or against but haven't?" I'd love to fly a Raptor. I'd love to fly a Eurofighter. I'd love to fly a Eurofighter against a Raptor or a Raptor against a Eurofighter with me in one of them. I mean, those are really cool. Um, I really any fighter I'd like to fly. I'd love to fly the A-10. I mean, that was an aircraft I've chased my whole career. I was originally hired to go fly the A-10, and that didn't work out. So. Um, Darby asks, any time frame for a new book? I need to start writing. So on the writing front, I'm working on some other projects with that, different media, which I do wish, I hope I can integrate to the channel and show you guys the process if it does take off. I don't want to get into too much detail right now because the last time I announced that we were going to do something, it didn't happen, whether it was Fights On or, the Absolute Vengeance movie the first time. So once I get details, a budget, all that stuff, I'm going to share it with you guys and I'm going to share kind of the process because I think it's going to be really cool. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there if it happens. If it happens, I don't know. So that's what I've been working on. I do need to start. The next book that I will write is the Kruger book. That's kind of picks up where Finney Flight left off. Is it possible for a person who has no U.S. nationality to fly a Hornet or a Viper? I guess you could fly a Canadian. I mean, there's other countries that have F-16s. If you're talking about fly a U.S. one, no. You have to be a U.S. citizen, but unless you go fly for like top aces or something, I don't know what they're requiring. I bet the State Department still requires you to be a U.S. citizen, but I don't know the answer to that one for the contractor side. Oh, James, are you looking to go back to a gray jet? Yes. And if you did or could, what would you like to fly? A-10. A-10, go back to the Viper. I think those are the only two possibilities at this point. Neither of which are that great because it's just a long shot. I mean, you got to understand it's tough. It's a tough job market right now for experienced dudes because the F-35 is delayed. So that's driving units to kind of not know what they're going to transition to or anything. They don't have transition courses. There's no TX courses, which is what a transition course is. There's no TX courses for the Viper. There's very limited for the A-10. These units just aren't hiring, and the ones they are hiring are current qualified experienced guys that are getting off active duty. So it's just a tough job market, and the longer it goes, the harder it gets because every day that I'm out of, a gray jet, right? The T-38 doesn't count for anything. Every day that I'm out is one step farther away from going back. It'll be 10 years in June since I flew the F-16. And it's 5 years right now since I flew the F-18, which is a long gap. I mean, it's tough to do. So, all right, back to the questions and the email. This comes from Eric. Dear Mover, your channel is awesome. I like how you have the interviews with pilots of older aircraft. At least one I saw was with Phil Van Patella about his time in the Crusader. Phil was awesome. Wasn't that a great interview? Part of the reason I'm sending you this is because I envision you saying Tomcats the moment you'd see this, like you have in some previous videos. Hasbro has crowdfunded a Tomcat for their G.I. Joe line. They call it the Striker. I remember that. They're halfway through backing it. That's awesome. I have to buy one. Thought you and other Tomcat fans would get a kick out of it. On to the questions. Having flown both the F-16 and F-18, which joystick and seat arrangement did you prefer? How the F-16 is described, it sounded like it would be more comfortable, but I also heard side stick itself doesn't move much physically. Take a lot of time to get used to coming off the training jets that didn't have fly-by-wire control. The first time I flew it, you ratchet because in a non-fly-by-wire jet, you put an input in, you take half out. The F-16, you don't really have to do that. So what you end up doing is ratcheting until you get used to it. It takes all of about 20 minutes to figure it out. So it's kind of a mixed bag. I love the setup of the F-16. It's very comfortable. It fits you like an Iron Man suit, like you're just wearing the jet. But it is nice having that center stick because what I like to do is, swap hands. So if you needed to do something with your right hand, you could always fly left-handed for a little bit and vice versa. It's a little bit tougher with the F-16, but having under G and when you're trying to dogfight and stuff, I think it's a little bit better. The only thing that's awkward is when you're turning right, which nobody likes to turn right, but it's even worse in the F-16 because it's not a comfortable motion to try to apply pressure right. So most people like to turn left, except when you're in a close air support wheel, it's a right-hand wheel because of where the targeting pod is. The Hornet, the stick, I mean, it's not a big deal right or left, but personally, in general, I still like the F-16 better as far as, seating setup and all that, especially too, the cockpit, everything HOTAS was it was all HOTAS based. You could do everything without taking your hands off the throttle or stick. In the Hornet, there's a lot of reach up, push the DDI, push this OSB, all that stuff. So a little bit different. I once read an F-16 pilot that Strike Eagles were very easy to defeat in DACT. I know it comes down to many variables such as experience, how well the aircraft is maintained, how good situational awareness is for the flight crew, and how they're feeling that day. In general, though, was it easy to take on? I knew the CFTs added a lot of drag, but the higher thrust, the F-100 engines. So I never got to fight a Strike Eagle, but I've always heard they were like clubbing baby seals because they just don't have the G. They're not as maneuverable. I guess if they're completely slicked off, maybe, but they were typically pretty easy from guys that I know that fought them. I used to play simulators a lot, and the last ones I played were Jane's, USAF, F-15, Falcon 4.0, 20 years ago. They were close to the best you can get. Is DCS pretty much night and day by comparison? Yeah. I mean, those were games. DCS is a game too, but DCS is much more of a study level sim than those. Have you been able to take on Fat Amy in a T-38 for DACT? And if so, did any of your opinions change about it afterwards? I ran the first Red Air detachment for F-35C as an F-18 guy. So I've seen it from both the T-38 and the F-18. I don't have bad opinions on the F-35. I mean, it's not the sexiest of airplanes, but it's very capable aircraft, and I've defended it. There were articles back when it first came out about, well, an F-16 gunned it or whatever, and those are all media BS. But I think it's very capable. It's got a lot of growing pains. There's a lot of bloat to the program, but the aircraft itself, everybody I've talked to has really enjoyed it. There's just a couple things that are just not quite right, especially with canopy, the seat, the jacket, all that stuff. But as far as capabilities, it's a very good aircraft. And finally, as part of an aggressor squadron in reserves, were you still required to carrier call in the Hornet? No, did not. Sorry for the dogs barking. There's ammo being delivered. So there's that. I wonder if you guys are hearing the dogs barking. Maybe not. Maybe the NVIDIA thing is as good as it goes. Anyway, back to these. Let's see what else you guys are saying. This is a random question. In a fighter, do you still have transition altitudes to set standard pressure in a deployed environment? Deployed environment. Well, we do it in training. I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure we do. I'm pretty sure we still had transition altitudes. Like, I don't think that changed just based on combat. But I mean, it's always different. Like when flying internationally in like 737, it was different based on where you were. Some places were higher or lower or whatever. But I'm pretty sure we still did in the Viper in Iraq. In Top Gun special features, the consultant told them there's no trophy. But the personalities in question could get messy. Can you discuss personalities excel in fighter pilot ranks? Just what I was talking about a while ago. Um, you know, being adaptable, open to criticism, studying, hardworking, good work. The work ethic is important. Um, the people that do the best are the ones that help their bros, boys and girls. I don't think that it's not a real. I mean, yeah, we give each other a hard time every now and then, but it's not anything like Top Gun. It's not that kind of personality. If, for hypothetically, I retired the F-16, would it make sense to bring the T two-seater models to UPT instead of sending them to a Mark? No, it makes sense to bring them to adversary air for the F-22, but that would not be a good UPT trainer. It'd be too expensive. You couldn't. You just it's too expensive. There's a T7. I mean, that's the whole point of the T7. So, any tips for a first time author about halfway through the first draft of his first book? Keep writing. Don't stop. Doesn't matter if it's terrible, just write. You can edit it after. And then once you do that, weigh your options. Query the agents, do all that stuff. But I see a lot of authors on Twitter and all that stuff. They get this kind of complex about, well, I'm traditionally published or nothing. I can tell you, I've sold more books than a lot of traditionally published authors. It's just it is what it is. So don't count out self-publishing. It's just a lot more work, and you got to do all your marketing on your own. You got to do a lot of stuff on your own, but it's still an option for you to succeed. But the biggest thing right now is keep writing. You can sculpt it down to a really good book, but you have to have something there in the first place. If you never finish, then there's just nothing ever there. Roy asks, can you explain what rain cover was left on an F-35? I don't know anything about that. So no, sorry. Hi, ever since I watched Top Gun, I've been addicted to fast jets. One of the things off my bucket list is to see a B-2. Where are your troops? Where's your best place? I don't know. I mean, an air show? Maybe if they do a flyover. I mean, the only base is Whiteman, but they're not going to let you on. So I don't know. Will you cover the accident report in the F-35 crash in the Med if there is an AIB released and it's public? Not a second before that. Shanghai, what's up, man? He had a C5 and loved it. Shanghai, we need to get you guys. We need to get you guys back on for the Desert Storm thing. We got to do that. Twins like the channel. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. Once you strap in the jet, can you unstrap to readjust if you're uncomfortable? Yes, except for the T-38, which you can't really. I mean, you can unstrap, but you can't get out of the parachute. I mean, you could, but it'd be tough. It'd be tough to get back in because you got to swim and stuff. I can't do it. Maybe a smaller dude or girl could, but so yes for the straps, no for the parachute, but that's only the T-38. F-16, yeah, you can do whatever you want. Get naked. I don't care. Let's see. Yeah. I mean, readjust if you're comfortable. It depends on to what level you're talking to. I mean, you're still not very, not a whole lot of room. How are the dogs? Well, you probably heard them barking. If you didn't, they were barking because UPS man just dropped off some ammo. Please don't demonetize me, YouTube. Luna, we didn't do anything for Thanksgiving. We just kind of hung out, and watched football. So yeah, she had a good time. Took her for a run and it rained on us. So guys asking questions about other countries, I have no idea. I mean, I don't involve myself in the politics of other countries. So you're going to have to ask your reps there. Threat level midnight. Do you have an acquaintance with, and if so, what are viewpoints on the Indian? Again, no idea. No idea. Here's a good one. In flight school, are your sims and sim flights? I can't say that 3 times. Can you go in after hours to practice? Yes. So if it's a syllabus event, it's graded. Now, sometimes the grading scale, like the required, it's called a MIF, the minimum. I don't know. I'm not a UPT guy. There's a minimum score you have to get, and if it's the first time seeing it, it's like 1 or 0 or something. I mean, it's stupid. It's ridiculous. So they're not requiring you to get it the first time. They're all graded. Yes, you can go in after hours to practice. In fact, I highly recommend it. That's what helped me in pilot training. My friends and I were always like, when in T6s, I was always going to the sims when I could, like every day. Just especially in academics. Once I learned where something was, like I could do the blind cockpit sweep anytime, and that helped me in the airplane, because when I finally got to the jet, it wasn't like, oh God, where's that switch? It's like, oh yeah, there it is. And you're not thinking about how to find stuff in the cockpit. You're already very familiar with it. So I highly recommend it. Let's see. Hog driver at heart, Shanghai. Yeah, man. Find one to hire me. Let's do that. What is the youngest pilot you've ever known in the Air Force, and I don't know that that's a thing. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't, I don't think it's really not a thing I would know. Former Pavlo crew chief here. Love what you do, boss. Good stuff. Well, thank you. Boy, that's a lot of circles and X's, but thank you. Anyway, what else we got? Rich. Were you ever in battle or had any type of interaction engagement with the enemy? What it define battle? I mean, air to air threat. I mean, I've deployed. I went to OIF, but I mean, I'm not sure I understand the question. Can you or someone record the bird? Somebody did that for the Transformers. They actually went in and fixed it, and it sounded really good. Also, DCS, I think, has gotten it pretty right. Fighter pilots would make great NASCAR drivers. Dude, that would be a great second career, becoming a NASCAR driver. Let's see. Thoughts on joining the Air Force later on in life? I'll be just past 40 when I get a master's in both physician assistant and public health, but I'm told I could get an age waiver. As a pilot, probably not. As a physician assistant, probably. However, I'll say this. It's a lot easier to put up with stuff when you're young. When you're in your 20s, you can deal with a lot more BS than you can when you're 40 or 35 or whatever. That's why people do their 10 to 12 years and then get out, because at that point they're getting tired of dealing with the BS. If it were me, I'd go make a bunch of money as a physician's assistant in the private practice and not worry about the Air Force. You're probably too old to go fly at this point. And I don't know that you'd want to. I mean, there's a lot of BS involved. I mean, I'd more likely recommend, taking the money and going and just doing it for funsies. Have you ever flown with the Israelis? No. On the trainer subject, do you think the new Red Hawk will change the disparity exists with the talent and current frontline fighters? Yes, and I've even heard they're configurable based on what you're going to fly next. Like the screens can actually be configured to like kind of resemble what's next. So, absolutely, I think we need something better. But remember, the current frontline fighters are also getting old too. So, let's see. I recall you saying, I keep picking Sharkgate, man. Have you looked into joining Air USA? I don't know anything about Air USA. So no, I have not. Be cool though. Be cool to go fly with them. Oh yes, you do hear the dog. So this is how far behind I am on this. This is one. Thank you for great inspiring content. My 10-year-old son is nuts about flying. What things can I do for him to support his passion for flying since he is so young? What helped me was video games. I played Microsoft Flight Sim, and back then it was Jane's ATF. I mean, maybe you do something like that for him. RC is pretty good. If you're talking real world, if you can afford flying lessons, do that. Glider stuff is pretty good, especially if he's younger. You can also do Civil Air Patrol. That's a good program. Um, yeah, I mean, just more exposure to aviation. That's the best thing you can do for them. Let's see. Wizzos are allowed today. Yeah. Well, they're guard dogs, man. What do you want from them? Have you seen UFOs? No. This is such a common question. Do you know how unlikely it is to be talking to somebody that, I mean, this is not the time anymore. I mean, the odds of someone shooting someone else down are like minuscule. If you're talking now, if I were a World War II veteran, absolutely. Vietnam, maybe. After that, I mean, we've had a couple with air-to-air kills, but it's just such a rare occurrence because it just doesn't happen as much anymore. Most of the deployments are air to ground. That's what it's been for the last 30 plus years. How do they deal with ears? I've never had an issue. You can Valsalva if you got a sinus block or something, but never had an issue. I mean, the cockpit's pressurized, so usually not an issue. Hey, Mover, I love your channel. Since you're an experienced military aviator, have you an interest in law enforcement? I did consider that. In fact, I thought I was going to go fly for customs when I moved here. That's why I moved to Mandeville, because I was hoping to go fly for customs in Hammond. And at the time, they were dual rated only, which is ironic because now I'm dual rated. But at the time, they didn't. I couldn't get through USA Jobs, so they never did hire me. At this point, I wouldn't do it. I mean, mostly because they're kind of like active duty, where they'll go put you on the border somewhere, or Puerto Rico or something. If I could absolutely guarantee I'd, fly out of Hammond and fly helicopters, I'd consider it. But I think it's a bit much at this point. I've got a lot of other stuff going on that I don't think it would work out. Any plan to get Shoes on the channel? I haven't talked to Shoes in a while. He needs to write his book, but yeah, we can. I need to talk to him. I need to see how he's doing. Can simulators like DCS relate with you getting into the Air Force? No, not at all. They might make you better on the TBAS, but there is no selection process that uses DCS. I can't do campaigns with missiles. Would the ATM be a good plane to do one in? Maybe. I haven't looked at it. DCS content's kind of weird because I enjoy some of the DCS stuff. I do not enjoy the videos, and mostly I do not enjoy the comments on the videos because it is a very unique community that knows a lot more than me. And let's talk about that because that actually happened. We got into it in the comment on that last one on the debrief where Gonky and I flew the BFM sets for charity, trying to raise awareness for our Folds of Honor tournament. And we even did a debrief, a 2-part debrief on that. And I got people from DCS debriefing me on how to fly BFM. So just in case you don't know, I was a 4-ship flight lead in the Viper. So I wasn't an IP, but I did fly a lot of BFM. In fact, my best month of BFM was 27 sorties in 1 month. I was very good at it. I went to the Hornet and did become an IP teaching BFM. Like that's all I taught. That's all we did teach. We taught RAG. The Growler RAG would come down and we would teach them. So we had to go through what's called an AdTac program and teach BFM. Gonky was an instructor in the RAG. He actually went down to Malaysia and taught the Malaysians. A lot of people have learned BFM from him. I've even done BFM in the T-38. So I've got some experience. And so when people from a video game come to me, there's kind of a qualifications gap, right? I don't go to Formula One drivers after watching their video and say, hey, dude, you could have taken that corner a little bit better. Because that's tacky. But in these DCS videos, you get guys who have never sat in an aircraft before trying to tell you what you've done wrong and how you can fix it and all that stuff. And I get that it's a little bit well intentioned, but it just comes off the wrong way because, and I tried to explain this in the comments and maybe it didn't come off right or whatever, but we are not the same. Like I went through pilot training, I went through the selection process, I went through pilot training, I went through all this training to get where I am today to be able to do that. They didn't. I mean, it's just I've lost friends. I have buried friends doing this job. And so when it comes down to, somebody who has never done it, who thinks that just because they played a video game that they're on the same level, it's a little insulting. And that's all. I mean, it gets there's a lot of blood in this industry, blood, sweat, and tears. I've buried a lot of friends, and to have, somebody in a video game say, that they can teach you what you don't know, it's just so DCS sometimes gets under my skin. I do enjoy when we just go have fun and stuff, and the people that say, well, you should have read the manual. Yeah, that's great, but serious DCS videos, I don't know if we're gonna do that. So anyway, back to your question. Sorry for the tangent, but that was kind of a and if you noticed in that thread, there were a lot of actual fighter pilots like Deuce, Hornet Vids, and stuff like that responding because no fighter pilot. I mean, it's not ego. It's just, did we know what we've done? We know who we are. We wouldn't put up with it on the street. We're not going to. I mean, it's not something you just have to know your place sometimes. And I don't do that to people that I'm not in the same league or level as, and I don't expect people to be able to do that with me or anybody else. I'm just not going to accept it. I mean, it's not valid. So anyway, you're still doing I need to do that. I haven't. Oh, I'm not going to play. I'll do the reaction videos, but I don't want to play that game. Who would win in real jets? You or Gonky? Me. Get all your Christmas shopping done yet? I haven't actually done any Christmas shopping. I haven't done any kind of buying anything. No. Let's see. Is an age of 28 old for a fighter pilot? No. I mean, it's older, but it's not too old. Would they pass me up for a younger guy with the same skills? It's all based on your qualifications. I mean, do you have good scores, good grades, and all that stuff? I think it's one of those things you got to make them tell you no, but it's not too old. It's definitely not too old at that point. Well, I appreciate it, sir or ma'am. Ma'am, sir. Hello. Served in the Nimitz. You ever fly off the Nimitz? No. I was only on the TR for a week. God, it was like prison. Prison on water, man. Ever been stationed in Europe? No. I've only flown through Europe once. Jen says, thank you for all you do and sharing your moverisms with the world. I do have some of those. Thank you, Auburn. Would you ever go back to flying the Viper? Yes, in a heartbeat. Even though I'd have to go back to the centrifuge, which sucks, I would do it again. 100%. All day long. I love that jet. I fly the Hornet too, but I really love to fly the Viper. Let's see. What else we got? Oh man, I'm so far behind on these comments. You guys are, I cannot keep up. Well, what's your thoughts on unmanned escort fighters, drones? We're ways away from that. You got to have a secure data link. I think as the loyal wingman, it's probably a cool idea, but autonomously, I think we're pretty far away from that. I drove 20 laps of the track, and NASCAR wins the Cup car and say it's eye watering. Those guys are studs. Yeah, dude, I did that at Atlanta and Rockingham, and I'm telling you, it's awesome. I would love to go do that again. Veronica would like to know, if you damage a jet, are you liable? Or does it hurt your rank? It depends on the country. In the U.S., they'll do an AIB and an SIB, Safety Investigation Board. I can't talk today. Accident Investigation Board. Typically, I mean, financially, no, you're not liable. Hurt your rank, no, unless you do something criminal and then you end up in jail and reduction rank or something like that. But typically, no. If it's your fault, what could happen is an evaluation board, whether it's Navy or Air Force, and they can either ground you, pull your wings, or retrain you. So there's a lot of options, but for the most part, almost every accident that I've reviewed on this channel, the person, if they survived, I mean, we've done some fatalities, but they typically go back to flying because it's not mistakes aren't the end of the world as long as it's that you show the ability to be retrained and recover. But I've known some people that have made mistakes and have ended up continuing on to bigger and better things. Can I get your books in the UK? You absolutely can. Amazon. Oh man, the GTA police version videos. I've been doing 5PD with Doug. Those are a lot of fun. Are you still in the police? Yes. And in fact, that plays into some of the stuff that I may do. I got to figure, I don't know if I can share it with you guys, I will. But yes, I am still the police. Did you have to do the altitude chamber ride? Yes. If so, what was your experience with hypoxia? I got some good advice. It is not a competition. So at the first symptoms, I went and gang loaded the regulator. But you get the vision loss, the tingling, the sense of euphoria. Sometimes I feel like I'm hypoxic when I'm flying DCS because of the vision, but the VR stuff. Oh, that's a good one. Besides pilot, what other officer flight jobs would you recommend for my daughter who wants to join Air Force after college? Officer flight jobs. Personally, I do the law enforcement thing. I would have gone AFOSI. Actually, there was an OSI agent in my OTS class, and I talked to her, and she was awesome. Flight jobs, I mean, there aren't many, right? You got CISO, which is taken over for the WISO stuff. I don't know that many other flying jobs. I mean, flight surgeon, if she wants to go to med school, but I'd say go be a pilot, fly. That's my advice. But I love flying, so check this out. I work for Martin Baker and watch your ejection reports, which is great to hear from pilots. Well, thank you for your service. I appreciate that. I don't have a Martin Baker seat, but I wish I did. Can you guys go install one in the 38A? Have you ever thought of doing DCS training videos? No, I get in trouble. There's no reward for that. Plus, it goes back to my original statement. Which weapon did you like to deploy the most in the air-to-ground mission? The gun. All day long, man. Gun's the most fun. Gun or rockets? On my Finny flight, I shot a full 500. Is it 550? 550 in the Viper? 550 and the rockets, and that was a lot of fun. Hypothetically, if you were given a chance to fly any one of the Russian jets, which one would you choose? Su-30, Su-35, Su-57? I'd fly them all. George says, mover. Thank you. This is a common question. Are you still flying with the airlines? I'm not flying with them on a leave of absence until next year. Have not been on a commercial airline flight since February of 2020. Let's see here. What do we got here? Castaway. I don't what specifically Castaway. I mean, it's got to be bang for buck. Is it going to be entertaining? I'll have to take a look. What do we got? This is how far behind I am. You guys are doing. I wouldn't. It's not everybody. It's certain people, and I get it. When I go play iRacing or whatever, I hope that it's as realistic as possible. It's just I think people. I've said it's Dunning-Kruger because it is Dunning-Kruger. Low ability people think that they are higher ability just based on inexperience and lack of knowledge. I think that people, it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to, enjoy the process and the experience and stuff like that. I just think that when people start to think that, okay, because I'm here, it's like, I'm going to regret saying this, but it's like the whole the comparison with Growling Sidewinder, right? He does great videos, he does BFM, he does all this stuff. He's not a pilot. He's not a fighter pilot. He hasn't gone through any of this stuff. I've seen people say things that, oh, he's a tactician, some tactical analyst, all that stuff. At the end of the day, he's done none of the training. He's got none of the experience. It's nothing against him. He's doing the best he can, but we're not the same. We're just not. I mean, and unless, which I encourage him, if he's young enough and wants to do it, he should go do it for real. I'm sure he would do very well, but there's a huge difference between a video game and real life. And I've even seen comments. I saw on Hazard Lee's video, somebody commented that, I beat a real fighter pilot in DCS. I bet I could do it in real life. No, you can't. You're going to G-lock, puke yourself. I mean, dude, no. If it were that easy, that's how we would train to save money. And it's not. I mean, even UPT 2.5 doesn't just put you in a sim and then throw you in the jet. Yes. One guy who chimed in, was that T-Bear? T-Bear has flown in like every war zone in the last. T-Bear flew A-10s. He was on the highway of death. Then he went to Bosnia in the Viper. Then he went to Afghanistan in the A-10, and then he flew T-38s with me. I mean, yeah, he made a very long post on that. Type of racing are you into? NASCAR. Yeah, I like NASCAR. I'll watch the other stuff, but if I'm going to watch something, NASCAR. If I'm going to do something, I like road courses and I like ovals. Yeah, Mike says, I totally agree. I can't stand it when people ask me question laws and then tell me the law. Yeah, exactly. SpaceX or NASA? SpaceX, man. I love that the private sector is doing stuff. I think that's the future. Government is bloated, and it's very tough for government to succeed where private industry doesn't have all the red tape and bureaucracy. You and Gonki in a Super Tucano. Who's in the back seat? Gonki, of course. Yeah, we kind of Tolga. Yeah, I need to start. Quick question: if you know by any chance getting a private pilot's license, yes, it will help. But realize that recently they changed the PCSM, so you don't actually need as many hours to get the max. So if budget is your thing, but I will tell you, a guard board, UPT board, and stuff like that, it does look favorable. I mean, it looks like you've got the ability and drive to complete what you set your mind to. Pogo Fuge was great. Don't know what you're talking about. It sucked. Although the last time I did it, we didn't have A tags, and I went straight from Sear. So yeah, I'd lost like 15 pounds of water weight. Have you ever gotten to a dogfight against 5th gen? No. Yes, I have done air refueling. Chris wants to know if I have challenge coins. I do. I have a bunch. No, don't. I actually don't like this chair at all. It's not comfortable. And the only reason it's like the sunk cost fallacy, the only reason I haven't gotten a new chair is because I spent so much on this chair, but it is murder on my back. I have not flown the Airbus. What influences my Airbus appreciation is I've jump seated in it, and I can see that there's no big yoke from 1935, and the cockpit doesn't have this big overhead panel that you hit every time you try to stand up. So, being 6'1", the 737 is just not a very nice cockpit, so to speak. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it. Thank you for your service. It's on hold. That's all. I mean, it's on hold. It's just not the right time right now. What did you do to better your score? I didn't score that great on the AFOQT, but the only way to make a better score is to study, get in the books, use the test prep stuff, and practice. Do you think Houston will ever have? That's a political thing. I don't know. Um, I don't know. Anything's possible. It doesn't seem likely, especially the way things are set up now. We're not getting more, we're getting less, but anything's possible. How many hours do you have on the 737 Max? Like 20 or something? It was not very many. I mean, I think I did maybe 3 trips with it. What do you think of the new helmets? What new helmets? Like Jahemics? This is a very hypothetical. I don't know. I'm not even sure I understand the question. I will say it's probably not a good idea to talk tactics on YouTube. So let's just leave it at that. Slider, Goose, Merlin, or Sundown? Sundown. He had we could have had him. I have not, but that is one of those ones that people have asked me to do the Mover Ruins movies. The Fifth to Phoenix was huge. I don't know if it'd be huge on a Hornet, especially it doesn't have the radar to do it either. When are we going to get more vet content? Yes, that's a good question. I should. I will. I tried. So funny story. I went to the drag strip last Friday night, and apparently Gulf Coast Dragway doesn't update their calendar correctly because it wasn't a test and tune night. It was a dragster night. So there was nobody there except the people that had been drag racing all day with actual race cars. And one of the guy won 10 grand. He was very excited. But so I was going to go take the Hellcat Durango and see what it would run on the track. But vet content, I'm probably going to do a track day in a couple weeks, assuming the weather holds up. So, but yeah, I need to do more vet content because I want to, and I like it. DCS in real life are different. DCS Chaz may want to help because they're experienced in the game. It doesn't translate to real world. Their intentions might come off negatively to a pilot. Yeah. It's also, it comes down to you don't know what you don't know. Whether it's DCS or real life, BFM concepts and definitions are the same. If the sim is modeling what real life should be, it should work for the most part. And you should be able to see that stuff. Like one guy had this weird thing where he's like, "Hey, watch this video." And I watched this video, and he blew through the merge at 650 knots, and then did a 2G turn, and then turned back around and just set up a second merge. And it's like, why'd you waste all that energy to do that? You just merge shaped another merge. I think it's people. It's what I say, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. People don't get into the basics and stuff and don't really understand it. So they try to kind of fill in the gaps on their own with what the game will do. And I think that leads to a little bit of conflict. So it's nothing. I don't want to get in this whole, I don't like the DCS community. I like the DCS community. I love what we've been able to do with Folds of Honor and the tournament and stuff. I just don't like some of the responses to some of these videos. Is the racing sign in the background attached to your road racing or local short? So, a fan sent me that. It was just awesome. And I don't actually, I'm not a professional race car driver. I just go every now and then. I do a track day and I have fun. The last time I flew a helicopter to the track day, it was awesome. I need to look into it. Yep, like patients who come to me. I must be so far behind on these. Patients who come to me and tell me how to do doctoring after researching on WebMD, right? I'm a doctor now. Good for you. What was the hardest thing you had to learn while flying the Viper or the Hornet? I thought in the F-16 offensive BFM was the hardest thing for me. And the easiest thing was defensive BFM. Don't ask me why. Everybody's the opposite. But for me, I think it was because the F-16 will hurt you so bad because it's a 9G fighter. And in offensive BFM, all you can do is screw it up, right? Because you start in a position of advantage, and the goal is to, within a certain degree of turn, get to the control zone and shoot them with the gun. In defensive BFM, you're already starting in a bad position. So it reminded me when I used to do jujitsu, the whole idea, like conceptually, I could picture it like jujitsu, staying in the guard, being close, keeping them from punching you kind of thing. So I always did better in defensive, but offensive always like was just, I was like, I don't want to do offensive. I love doing high aspect. I was good at that. I love doing defensive, but offensive always gave me trouble. 100%. Yeah, I'd fly for Draken. I not full time, and that's the problem. Is I think all these like Draken, ATAC, all these places are all part time, or sorry, full time, not part time. Nobody's doing part time jobs right now. Can Gonky handle the ZR1? He's got a Camaro. He's a track guy. Would I let him? No. Glock or Sig? Both. I have both. I have two Glocks on my desk right now, and I have a Sig P320 RX. And a original West Berlin 226. No, I don't think the Vipers. Possibly, but I don't know. It'd be tough. Any recommendations on third gen fighters? That's a good question. I don't know. F4? Would that be third gen? Yeah, F4. Office chairs are the best. The rest is waste. Yeah, I learned that the hard way, dude. I've got this cushion back here to try to make it not as bad, but yeah. Auburn says, thank you for the advice. Your channel has inspired my son to make his own videos. That's awesome. Good for you. Go check out Emory's Military Aviation Fact File. Fastest car I've ever driven, the ZR1. I think that would probably be the. I mean, I've driven a NASCAR at Atlanta, but I bet the ZR1's probably like than the way it was configured faster. Flying airliners, did you have any trouble? No. I always, and it's true. So there was, when I was in the squadron, there was a guy that, and I've told the story before, so if you guys have heard it, he was friends with the dude that was flying Air Force One. And the guy's like, how do you deal with Air Force One? This is years ago. It's like, how do you deal with flying Air Force One, knowing that you've got, the president of the United States, that you're responsible for this important person. And he said, I don't even think about it. And you're like, well, how? Why? He goes, well, because the way I see it, when I'm flying this thing, I'm the most important person on this aircraft. And as long as I get there safely, there's a good chance he will too. And I agree with that. When you're flying, you're not, who cares? I mean, flying is flying. There's no room for, obviously you think of passenger consideration with like turbulence and, trying to be, smooth and not get them sick and not be abrupt or violent, smooth landing, all that stuff. But as far as, the overall, oh God, I got all these people, I never once even thought of that. Maybe come over to the pad and comment on some racing. What is the pad? That would be the first question. Would you recommend bringing a bottle to pilot interviews? Gift to the bar is always acceptable. Yep. Oh, to pad Gulfport? I don't know. I tried to go to that drag strip, but they weren't having the test and tune. Hey, Mike. Yep. Helo skid training was captivating. Awesome. Yeah, there's another one coming out. I'm working on it. In fact, I stopped editing to do this. I'm skipping. So, and I'll put this at the beginning of the next video. I'm skipping. Usually, I'm always like up front. You see every single thing I've done. I figured this one was a little bit repetitive. Day 2 was exactly the same as day 1, just got a little better. So day 3 was kind of putting it all together. So we're skipping. It's just going to be 2 videos instead of 3. Comment on Trent Palmer and collab with him. Okay. Least favorite airplane you've flown? God, T-38. I enjoy flying the T-38. I love the mission we do. I do not like the parachute. I do not like the cockpit. I think it needs a huge upgrade. Is there a specific aircraft you wish were in DCS? It may be cool if they had the Black Hawk. Pave Hawk, something like that. Um, you can do Black Hawk Down and stuff. Fighter wise, I don't know. Yep, I have looked in the Louisiana Guard. It's a nut I never could crack. I mean, it just wouldn't work out. Some of those guys don't like the YouTube channel, so they've kind of, and they're not into the social media thing, which is fine. And it just never worked out. I really appreciate your channel mover. Do you have any idea if there are engine upgrades for the F5E? I don't know. I'm sure there are. Enjoy the T-38. Like I said, I enjoy the mission. I love what I do. It's very uncomfortable. It's very hard on your neck and back because of the stupid parachute. I wonder if the new seat in the T-38C is better. But as far as if I had to look back and aircraft that I've flown in my career, I think my favorite, F-16, F-18, and then T-6 actually over the T-38. Yeah, I need to talk to Houdini. I know him. I don't know if he'll do it, but I need to talk to him. So yes. Doesn't Top Aces have the Viper, or are they the ones with the Hornet? I don't know. God, I would get my ass kicked so hard. It would not be. Oh, it would not be good. Hardest thing in pilot training? Instruments, I think, for me at the time, because we were still doing fix to fixes back then, and it's just the math and all that stuff. It wasn't easy, but I really enjoyed the other stuff, formation and low levels and stuff like that. Thank you, Blue Rex. I would not go to California. There's not enough money in the world for me to go to California. I'm sorry. It'd be a cool mission, but not in California. There's just not. How many countries have you been to as a fighter pilot? How often should I expect people to travel as a fighter pilot? I have been to, I've only flown in Iraq. However, I think you can expect to go places, every 18 months or so. And then there's obviously TDYs, Nellis, the different red flags, Alaska, stuff like that. You may even get assigned overseas. Decades before this happens. I think we're probably talking well after, like, we would have to have, what is it, the singularity, where technology just explodes, because right now the technology for secure data links and stuff just doesn't exist. Oh my God, somebody asked me about BVR. I cannot answer that. I'm sorry. I'm not going to jail. Oh God, no. No. I meant fighters. I don't even consider, like, in the running of things I enjoy to fly, fatties will never be on that list. I do have gun videos. Often gets me in trouble with YouTube. So I have been demonetized for that, because I did a review on my AKV. I did the STI 2011 that I have. I really love that gun. So if I can figure that out, I will. Yes, Blue Thunder is on the list. Next question. Ooh, I think airline pilot does. I say that because that's why dudes end up bailing for the airlines. But then, ironically, they'll go to a reserve unit and then pick up orders and be active duties. I don't know. I don't have a family, so I can't say. But it seems like it's like a mix of what you want, right? Active duty pilot, you're probably home every night, and then you go TDY for a couple weeks or deploy for several months. Airline pilot, you're always gone unless you live in base, and then you can do turns and stuff. But let's say you're gone 10 nights a month. So it's a trade-off. No. No, Langley's, I wouldn't move there for sure. Not Virginia. And the commute there would be too difficult. Chris, join the Make Them Tell You No Facebook group. Biggest thing is just be yourself, be honest. Understand what the unit's mission is that you're going to, be able to answer questions about that. And just be a sponge. I said that previously, absorb. Don't try to impress anybody. Just be you. That's what they're just trying to get to know you. They just want to know that you're somebody that they can deploy with or whatever. Oh, what did I just do? What just happened? How all of a sudden, what? This is the creepiest thing ever. Wonder why that happened. Huh. I don't know, but all of a sudden I've zoomed out. That's awesome. Oh well. You guys are just gonna have to deal with it. It looks weird. Like I don't that's crazy. Let's see what else we got. Former Army Cav, shout out to you and your military aviator colleagues for your service. Thank you. Thank you, TAC Care. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I'm not going to apologize for that. So no. Have you been there? I mean, oh my God. Yes, we are low on fuel. So for the love of God, don't give us these extended vectors. Don't try to bring us 30 miles north. We're coming back home. We need to land. We're not coming back with a whole bunch of gas to mess around. And when we say min fuel, I know that that's really not a thing. But we are min fuel, and the next call is going to be emergency fuel. And yeah, you ever been to Corpus Christi? Yes, I have. I haven't done anything there, but what's going on with this? Why is it? Oh boy. There, we're back. That's just weird. I don't know why that happened. Yeah, a lot of aspirations. Realistic aspirations? We'll see. Who shrunk mover? Strongly consider punching from active duty to do guard reserve time as a 14N. I don't know what a 14N is, but I think the biggest thing is make sure you have some kind of civilian job if you can't get a full-time gig. I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? You got to be able to support yourself. So have options outside of that. But I think it's a great idea. I mean, it's really good. The Chinese wanted to see the rest of your pictures. Let's see. Did you ever have the opportunity to exchange? No, I didn't, but that would have been awesome. I have a friend that did it. What's harder? Mental. Everything mental. I mean, the physical stuff you can train yourself for, but the mental stuff, you just got to be tough. Enhance. I love it. I love it. No, it's not an option, but it'd be cool to do. I've noticed in DCS dogfights end up close to the ground. Yeah, so what's funny is we were talking about this on the DCS fight that Gonki and I had. It reminded me a lot of in the Hornet. So typically you'll set a training aid, and we didn't do this in the Hornet, but at 204, but we did it a lot in the F-16. You set a training aid, right? Because you waste gas if both dudes are full up in the same aircraft. We'd have one guy go burner, one guy mill power or men burner or whatever. At 204, though, we would just say, hey, we're full up, because it wasn't training for squares. It was just, continuation training, CT. And what inevitably happened was you ended up at the floor, 2-circle, looking across the circle, and then it would transition, but you'd be at the floor and just neutral, and just one guy would go, okay, uncle. So what happened with me and Gonki reminded me of a lot of that, because that's eventually what it would end up being, with two equal skill sets and same jets. Oh, 14N is an Intel nerd. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I would say, a lot of units are looking for that. If you can get an AGR, do it. There's a technician thing, but I would also have the idea of, a civilian job on the outside. All right. Well, that's cool. I have caught up, I think. with the questions. Let's see if I got any more emails that I missed. This is just a nice one. Just someone says, I love your Mover Ruins movie series. It's great and funny at the same time. Never stop. Keep it for as long as possible. You point out things I've never noticed before. Well, thank you. Awesome. And then here's one. I can't pronounce this name. I'm 24. I live in the Netherlands. My boyfriend is a huge fan of you and all your YouTube videos since he's currently training at the Dutch Air Force to fulfill his dream, become a fighter pilot. He's never read your books yet. So I ordered the first 4 books of the series you wrote online for his birthday, which is the end of the month, November 30th. Oh, so there you go. Fortunately, they will not be delivered in time. So I was wondering if maybe write something or send a short video for his birthday back to me so I can tell him properly his birthday present will arrive ASAP. In addition, here's some more information about my boyfriend. His name is Jarno. He will be 28. His preference is fly Fat Amy. Sorry, F-35. Someday in the future, he completes his training. I hope you can find the time to answer. Yours truly. Another name. Well, you've got a good girlfriend there, Jarno. But happy birthday. And I hope you enjoy the books. And good luck in training. That's awesome. Make Fat Amy tell you no. Thanks, Marka. Let's see. We're back to the questions. Time to take a break. I think DCS folks are a bit too obsessed with dogfighting. I mean, it's fun. I mean, the BVR stuff's all classified, so it's fun. I mean, I understand that. I think people in general are obsessed with dogfighting. As seen on this chat, you see all these questions. Have you ever been in a dogfight? You ever shot anybody down? It just doesn't happen. It's just not, until we get into a shooting war with a near peer threat, it's not going to be a common thing. And even then, I mean, technology has changed. I have flown an L-39. I would not pay $3,000 to fly one again unless I was getting like a type rating. Arm the seat. You're the last flare. I can't take credit for that. That Gonky said that one time and I loved it. So I borrowed it. All right, cool. Thank you. Corvette review. I've done the Corvette, so it'd be another review, but maybe a track day or something. I have seen a Su-57. Go check out that video. It triggered all of the Russian people. Thanks, Patrick. How you doing, man? Uh-oh, something's wrong with the chat because now I'm seeing the same ones over and over again. That's a good point, and what sucks is you get pigeonholed into stuff, and like we've been talking about aviation stuff this whole time. I'm glad. I enjoy when people say, hey, Corvette, guns, dogs, whatever. Flying is like a drug. It's addictive and then it's gone and you got to find another fix. And I agree with that. I mean, it's tough. I mean, I was saying this the other day. One of the hardest parts about losing my mom or my dad is when you're like in the shower and you think, man, I'd love to talk to him right now. And then you're like, I'll never talk to him again. Like never. Like then that finality hits you. And then I think about the F-16. Like I see a video on Instagram or a video on YouTube or even flying the F-16 in DCS. I think of, man, I'd love to fly that again. And then you think, I'm probably never going to fly that thing again. I'll never get to sit in the F-16 again. And that, to me, it has that same feeling. It has that same punch, that gut punch of God, that, it's over. So yeah, it is tough. And so it is important that you not get to make that your entire identity and entire existence, because then you have nothing left. Then there's just, you were the pilot, you're not the pilot. Now, who are you? So, have you ever heard of a challenge air for kids and friends? I have not. No, but that sounds interesting. Email me. cwlemoyne@cwlemoyne.com. I don't know what JDAM spam is. Blue Vets. That's just the comment. It just says Blue Vets. Oh yeah. No, you're right. Yes, for sure. What dog do you have? Luna! Luna! Nothing. No, they're not. So I've got three, 12, 10, and a year old. Sniper's 12. He's a Belgian Malinois mix. Kaiser is a Belgian Malinois Shepherd mix. And then Luna is a Husky Dutch Shepherd mix and a Terrier mix. And she's awesome. So anyway, and then here's one right here. If you go back in time, you had the choice between becoming an airline pilot with no debt and starting out at 200,000 with holidays off and becoming a fighter pilot in the Navy. What would you choose? Fighter pilot in the Navy all day long, every day. It's not about the money. Yeah, what dog? An unresponsive one. I don't. Sniper? Nothing? They were barking a while ago. I hope they haven't left me. Well, this one, although it's blurred out, probably for the better. That's probably that one or my Daniel Defense DDM4 ISR is probably my favorite rifle. I really like the STI 2011 that I have. My favorite gun to shoot. But let's see what else we got. Business aviation? No, I'm not looking for another flying job. If I'm going to be in business aviation, I want to be in the back, or flying it because it's my jet. I don't want to fly for somebody else. AR over AK. Although I do love my AKV. "107th Wing A10. So we've gone an hour and 22 minutes. We got to stop this thing. On a highway in the CRTC, did the F-16 or F-18? No. No, we did not. I do not know about the Finnish Air Force HX program. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm. Go watch my lightning strike video. Just Google lightning strike CW Lemoyne. That's probably one of the most challenging because that's one of those times where I thought I was going to watch a dude run into the ground. Other emergencies. I've had. My very first one. Oh boy. First one in a civilian aircraft was a gear problem. That was probably the hardest one because I had the least amount of training and knowledge at the time. And thankfully didn't cause a whole lot of damage to the airplane. It was my airplane, so that was not good. Probably one of the most dangerous ones was T-38 formation takeoff, solo. So very similar to what happened last Friday. At rotation. In fact, that video is on YouTube. I had a bird ingested into the number 2 engine. So right next to my flight lead, had a compressor stall, engine failure at rotation. So very tough time on a hot day, and got it airborne. So moment I knew when I flew commercial from Lafayette to Dallas to San Francisco. That was it. I was 8 years old. I was like, I love flying. 9 years old. All right. Well, let's call that a day. That's an hour and 25 minutes I've been talking. CETOS, yeah. That's exactly what I had to attain. CETOS, single engine takeoff speed. Forgot to tell you guys, I started CrossFit. So first rule of CrossFit Club is you have to tell everybody you're in CrossFit. So there you go. Thanks be to the WOD. I did that today. I did that yesterday, 2 days ago. So I'm a CrossFitter now. So in case you guys are wondering, I'm doing that. And yeah, they let an 8-year-old fly. I did get to go up to the cockpit though. So that was cool. Oh, here we go. Will you ever use your bachelor's degree that you used to become an officer to become a fighter pilot? Will you only be flying jets and use it after the military? I had a business degree and I've never used it other than maybe used it for the channel, maybe business stuff, but I never needed it. I don't know about DCS, but MSFS taught me bad habits. Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely can teach you bad habits. Cool. All right. Well, that'll do it for both Facebook and YouTube. I appreciate everybody for watching. I hope you have a great Black Friday and get all kinds of deals on all kinds of stuff. Um, yeah. Oh, probably Monday will be live again. I don't know what time. And I'm bad about that, but we're gonna get Wombat on the channel, and we're gonna try out a more like podcast show. Like we talk about some current events, and then he's gonna talk about his book, and we're gonna just chat. It won't be an interview, just a chat. And what else? Tomcats. And I've got that other auto rotation video, and that's it. Just gonna keep having fun. Just keep on keeping on. Anyway, you guys have a great weekend. Stay safe. Don't do anything dumb, dangerous, or different. And I'll see you next time.